Thank you, Mr Speaker.
I call the honourable member Barbara Stewart.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise on behalf of New Zealand First to speak to the New Zealand Public Health and Disability Amendment Bill. Unfortunately, on this occasion, we're going to oppose this bill. This bill is a real contradiction in terms. There were some positive aspects. When we looked at the 92 million, we thought, at last, some money is actually going to be made available for these families. But when we read further, the negative connotations actually overwhelm the positive aspects. When we have a look at the amount, $92 million for 4 years, it's only a drop in the bucket. $92 million over 4 years to pay carers to look after their own disabled family members, and it cannot be a family member or a spouse if they're going to get paid. We all know that this is a response to the family carers case that was ruled upon by the Human Rights Review Tribunal, the High Court and then the Court of Appeal. Today's Dominion said that this was a half-baked scheme, particularly when you can't employ a family member or a spouse to look after the disabled person. When we look at it, the facts are there are approximately 1,600 disabled people with high and very high need who will be funded by this proposal. So we have $92 million over 4 years, which works out to $23 million a year. If we divide that $23 million a year by the number of people requiring a carer, the amount that these will be paid works out to be a real pittance, $14,000 per person per year. It's really a pitiful amount of money to provide for these people that are protecting our country's most vulnerable people. I know of many families who will not allow another family member to provide or care for their family member. They're happy to do it themselves, but they wouldn't be happy for someone else to care so intimately for these people. And of course, this is not even recognised in this legislation. Family carers provide a great service to New Zealand. Their love, their compassion, their tireless caring, their sweat, their tears, nurtures these people, our fellow New Zealanders. They're very compassionate, they're caring, they're working in an extremely demanding role, one that most of us couldn't do day after day after day. If the national parties don't value and appreciate that work, they should basically say so. We know that disabled New Zealanders don't receive enough support in our country. There's not nearly enough financial, emotional and professional encouragement for disabled people to integrate into a normal, more independent life. There have been reports of disabled people not receiving sufficient support even in the area of speech therapy, which would really help their integration into society and help their self-esteem as well. What many people fail to realise is that carers need time out too. It is really tiring caring for a disabled person. Yet if a parental carer needs time out, in many cases, they need to apply for a domestic purposes allowance. We're making these people, our people, jump over all sorts of hurdles just to make ends meet, while expecting them to support our most vulnerable. Carers are a great group of people. I know of one family, the father works at home during the day so that the mother can sleep, because she works at night to bring in the extra money to try and make ends meet. These people are really struggling to try and keep their loved ones at home. On behalf of New Zealand First, I have to acknowledge Mr Atkinson and the others who've fought long and hard to receive any funding, and recognise their efforts, their endeavours and the sacrifice that they have made for their families. We know that this measure proposed by the government is totally inadequate. It's definitely not enough. And we can't understand
Order.
Why this
members,
bill
there's too much background noise. It's discourteous to the member speaking.
Is actually going through under urgency. No public submissions, no other opportunity for the public to have any input into this particular bill. It is disappointing. Again, we see the focus of this government on cost and not on care. We know it's a complex issue. It should never be pushed through under the House in urgency. And that is how New Zealand First is viewing this bill. We will oppose this bill. Thank you.
I call the honourable member Scott Simpson.